Good Thursday evening, everyone. I'm KSN Storm Track 3 Chief Meteorologist Lisa Teachman. Meteorologist Lucy Dahl is with me tonight. She'll be here in just a little bit to talk about the extreme cold that's going to be moving in our direction. And this is a storm system that we've been talking about for days. So this is giving us an opportunity on our CTV channel, but also here on Facebook to connect with you. I know many of you have questions about this storm system as it's moving in. We've heard from so many of you already. What time is this going to hit my house? What time are we going to see it finally wrap up? How cold is it going to get, and how many inches of snow can we expect? Let's go ahead and take a look at what's happening with this storm system right now, because I want to give you the broad overall view and explain what's going to happen, because we upped our snowfall totals. Yesterday on air, I told you that in the winter storm watch area, which we had several of our counties that were issued underneath that we were going to see anywhere from about 4 to 8 inches of snowfall. That was a solid 4 to 8 inches of snowfall. Now that we're getting closer to this storm system that's getting closer to our region, we have much better sampling. We also have much better data that's honing in on some of the snowfall accumulations that we could potentially see across the Sunflower State. There's going to be 2 distinct waves of snowfall, so this is going to be a longer duration event for us. This is a look right now at the approaching storm system coming in from the California coast, and it's going to be a southern track system, which means it is going to have more moisture available to it. We also have colder air that's going to be moving in as well. And the colder air is going to be here as early as midnight. We're going to fall below freezing, and our temperatures are just going to get worse through the day on Friday. We're going to go for several hours below freezing, and it may not be until next Tuesday that Wichita can get above freezing. And when you factor in the winds, they are just going to be dangerously cold. But it's not going to be just us impacted by this storm system. I've expanded this out anywhere from New Mexico all the way over toward Texas, Oklahoma. Oklahoma is going to see the ice switching over to snow. And then down in Texas, they are also going to be dealing with quite a bit of ice. Winter storm watches have been expanded all the way over toward the New England states. And there are ice storm warnings for the deep south, which does include the Mississippi areas. So this is going to be a storm system that's going to be many miles in the making, and it's definitely going to leave its mark. And we're going to see its mark here across Kansas, central eastern Kansas, picking up the lion's share when it comes to the snowfall accumulations. There could be many places 8, 9, 10 inches of snowfall, with a higher focus to the south and also to the southeast. You go further in western Kansas, and we're not expecting to see nearly as much snowfall. Right now on Facebook, we have about 30 people that are here. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and we'll try to get to those as much as we can. But I want to make sure that everybody is prepared for this storm. We've been talking about it for days. Now, the model guidance is definitely guiding us into the direction of how much snowfall that we are going to see. And this is going to be a significant storm system for Kansas, with several inches of snowfall expected. And when you add in the bitterly cold temperatures, it's just going to make things worse. We have been upgraded away from the winter storm watch to the winter storm warning and a winter weather advisory. And there's a difference between 2 of these. And I've mentioned this on air, that if you go into the winter storm warning, you're going to see higher accumulations of snowfall. If you're in the winter weather advisory area, you're going to see less snowfall, but it will still impact your travel. And that's the difference. The pink is going to be the winter storm warning. In the purple, it is going to be the winter weather advisory. And the window for this is going to be from 6 a.m. on Friday to 6 p.m. on Sunday. And this is also something that's been extended a little bit longer in time because of awaiting that secondary push, that secondary wave that's going to be coming with this storm system. So let's break it down here. This is going to be a look at tonight. This is at 11 o'clock. We have winds that are coming in from the northeast. So this is going to be pushing that Arctic air in our direction. We'll all hit a midnight high in the afternoon on Friday. And I know several of you have reached out to me and said, well, what are the kids going to be expecting when they go out to the bus stop in the morning? Well, count on temperatures in the morning to be in the teens to the lower 20s. When they're at the bus stop, and then when they're coming home, we'll have single-digit temperatures, not factoring in the winds. And our winds tomorrow are going to be gusting between 25 and 35 miles per hour, so that's going to make the wind chill worse. But the air temperature across northern Kansas tomorrow will be in the single digits, and then across southern Kansas, it's going to be in the teens. While Wichita starts the day at 29 degrees at midnight, We are going to fall to 13 degrees by about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then it's going to get colder into the overnight. So you're already starting to lay down the cold temperatures. Clouds are already starting to thicken up. You step outside, you can already see the clouds. Clouds are going to thicken, get a little bit closer to the surface. Then we have to wait for the lower levels of the atmosphere to start to moisten up. And it's going to begin in western Kansas first, because when you think about Kansas, Kansas is not flat. It's actually a slope. So you have those winds that are going up. It's got some moisture to work with. It cools, it condenses, and it starts to form snow. But before the coldest of the air can completely fill the whole column of air closer to the surface, we might have a brief period in southwest Kansas tomorrow morning of freezing drizzle, switching over to sleet, and then eventually snow. And snow is going to be the main flavor of this storm system. Watch what happens with this batch of snow. It continues to move into north central Kansas. By lunchtime, we're dry in the Wichita area. Wichita is going to have to overcome some drier air closer to the surface. That will happen in the evening. Sun starts to set. The atmosphere starts to cool down a little bit more. We might also have a brief period across south central Kansas of freezing drizzle and sleet before it becomes all snow. And when you're looking at this map, any place that you see a deeper shade of blue, it's going to be a heavier amount of snowfall. And I think that's going to be greatly important to see how this is going to be lining up in different pieces with the piece of energy number 1 and piece of energy number 2. So 6 o'clock, we're seeing snow to the north, starting to see a little bit more snow back toward the Wichita area. And then Friday night, Saturday morning, it fills in and it gets a little bit heavier, central and eastern Kansas. Then this wave is going to push off to the east. I think there will be a lull between the first wave and the second wave from late Saturday morning into early Saturday afternoon. Crews are going to use that time, of course, to try to do as much as they can to help clear the roads from what falls with this initial wave. But then this next wave starts to move in. This will be late in the afternoon, early evening on Saturday, tracking from the southwest to the northeast. This also starts to produce some heavy rains or heavy snow. I've been so in the form of rain lately that snow has just not been the top of my mind, even though it is winter, because we just haven't had cold enough temperatures for this. But snow, central, eastern Kansas, going into Saturday night and also Sunday morning. And then by midday, this should all push off to the east. And then we're going to get another reinforcing shot of colder air that's going to drop our temperatures even more so. There was one model I was looking at this morning, and it showed Wichita dropping the air temperature, not factoring in any wind, not slightest push of any air at all, 14 degrees below zero. That was just one model. So we'll clear things out in the early next week, but it is still going to be bitterly cold. So on the tops of our list when it comes to this storm system, it is going to be the dangerously cold temperatures, and it's also going to be the snow. Snow will be highest, central, eastern Kansas. Ice, there could be a little bit at the initial part of wave number 1, but snow is going to win out. Power outages, you can't rule out that possibility, but I think for us, power outages will probably be on the lower side of this. So I want to bring in meteorologist Lucy Dahl because I want her to take a look at what's going to happen when it comes to the wind chills. Lucy.
Yeah, Lisa, we have been seeing those wind alerts already get issued, and that's going to be in the form of extreme cold advisories. That's what we have in place right now for a majority of the region, that area you're seeing in the lighter blue. And when we break down what our extreme alerts are, from advisory to watch to warning, it's going to be based on the wind chills and just how cold things are going to be feeling. Temperatures are going to be holding on to those negative degree marks anywhere from about the levels of -10 to -15 for our feels like temperature. That is why we have the advisory in place right now, and that means we can get frostbite anywhere from 30 minutes on. Now, I would not be surprised if we see these get extended and upgraded into extreme cold watches or extreme cold warnings, because that means our feels like temperature anywhere from -15 to -20, less than 30 minutes of exposed skin to the air. That's what's going to be developing into frostbite, and temperatures might just get that cold as we move into the end of this weekend and to the beginning of next week. And we are also expecting to see those wind chills out the door tomorrow morning. Brutal. Dangerous cold wind chills across portions of more of the Midwest off towards our north, but wind chills possible below 0 degrees. going to be the case across much of the Sunflower State. So as you're heading out to work or school tomorrow, make sure you are bundling up, and that can be said for the entire weekend, as temperatures only going to get colder from here. In fact, our actual air temperature by the time we look towards the beginning of next week, early Monday morning, going to be the negatives. And that's when our coldest wind chills are going to be arriving, with that secondary push of Arctic air moving into the region. It is going to be a drier push for Monday, but temperatures, even though we're not seeing the snow falling, going to be brutally cold. Our highs really only reaching into the single digits Monday as well. And that is why we're saying that extreme level for our cold air and dangerously cold in terms of our winter storm threats, whereas that snow at the higher end, the cold is sticking around longer, and that's why we've put that at that extreme level, because it's going to be gross. As Lisa says, cold air moves in like molasses, it sticks and it doesn't want to move. That's my Lisaism for today.
I have to give credit to one of the chief meteorologists that I worked with in Kansas City, because I stole that from him.
Okay.
Because that was one of the lessons that I had learned, because the air is so heavy, and it takes great force. And you look at how much snowfall we're going to see, that's also going to keep us from warming up. And when you and I texted this morning, I called you and I said, let's talk about some of these temperatures, because when I saw that temperature going into Monday morning for central and eastern Kansas and Wichita, 14 degrees below zero on the European, I thought, holy smokes, here we go. But this is the way it's going to break down when it comes to our temperatures for south central Kansas. Snow, 29 degrees for Friday. Remember, that's midnight. Through the afternoon, we're looking at a temperature 3 p.m. of about 13 degrees.
Yuck.
Then we drop to 2 degrees into Saturday morning, only up to 6. You're not getting much of a diurnal. Diurnal means you're not warming up a whole lot during the day, only from about 2 to 6 degrees. And of course, we have that 2 different waves of snow moving through. Basically from Friday evening, Friday night, Saturday morning, midday. Saturday looks like a break, but then the secondary one starts to come in. And you always have to watch for the degree of how much dry air that you could have that will work in with these systems. And I know people have been throwing out all these snowfall totals, and some of these snowfall totals for days. There's a lot of people on social media that have been doing that. And we always wait until about 48 hours before the end of the event. And I went ahead and I pulled the trigger and I said, at 4 o'clock, we're going to go ahead and start doing this. And our team started discussing some of the snowfall totals yesterday. And now we have continued to adjust it, because we have had consistency with these models for showing these snowfall amounts, because snow ratio is a big thing when it comes to temperatures versus snowfall. And think about it this way. And the rate is, your typical ratio is 10 to 1. Talking about if you get 1 inch of liquid, 1 inch of rain, it is going to produce 10 inches of snow. Okay?
Yes.
This is colder air. So you have to look at a different ratio set up for that. And we're looking at a 17 to 1 or a 20 to 1 type of ratio. So if you're forecasting and you look at all these models and you have a 10 to 1 ratio set up and it says 4 inches of snowfall,
much different on the
you better double
side.
it. You better double it. And we're going to have to watch that rather closely, because this is going to be a fluffy, powdery snow when it does form. Does not look like it's going to be one of those types of ones where you want to go out and build a snowman, because that would happen if our temperatures were a little bit warmer, but not in this case. I mean, this is some brutal cold.
Yeah, I'm not excited about it. I think one thing that is important to note, even though we're not showing snowfall totals yet, or more than 48 hours out, that we're still having that conversation as a team. We've been having that conversation. I was out of town and we were having that conversation. So it is something that we're constantly looking at, but we're not showing that to y'all, the viewers, until we have it ironed out and we are certain that that's what we're going with. And things changed even from this morning, or what you sent out yesterday, to what we showed at 4, because models are constantly changing.
And I went on TV, and that's why I said yesterday that you could see that solid 4 to 8 inches, because I was pretty confident that we were going to see that much in that winter storm watch. And then when you see the winter storm warning upgraded, it's like, this is going to be some serious business. Here's some of our other 7-day forecasts, so you can see some of our temperatures that we have for north central Kansas. Those of you in Salina, Hayes, Great Bend, Russell areas, 3 degrees on Saturday. 2 degrees below zero in a Saturday morning, 1 degree below Sunday morning, 4 degrees below zero on Monday morning. Southwest Kansas, 7 degrees, the high on Saturday. Snow is likely. Could start off as a light wintry mix, the freezing drizzle and some sleet before it becomes all snow. And then we'll see more of the snow Friday night, Saturday morning, and then Saturday night into Sunday morning. And for Northwest Kansas, probably not going to see as much snowfall. Poor Cheyenne County, not under any.
They're the only ones.
Not under a winter weather advisory, not under a winter storm warning, but I do think that you could even see some snowfall accumulations in your area. We'll be at 3 degrees below zero on Friday. You are going to be one of the first that will be able to warm up above freezing. So, Lucy, you've been looking at the chat,
Yes.
and we
Would
do
you like
have some.
me-
Yeah, we have some questions.
We have a couple questions.
Okay.
Joshua Collins is asking if there's any threat at all for ice in Wichita, which you did touch on.
I did touch on that a little bit. Yeah, there could actually be a little bit of freezing drizzle, maybe even some sleet initially, but then things are really going to start to become more snow once the sun sets tomorrow evening and into tomorrow night.
Yeah, and then ice won't really be a concern because temperatures aren't going to warm up that much.
No.
We're not going to have a lot of melting. That
No.
refreezing will be more of a concern next week.
And also the road crews, they have to be very careful in how
Yes.
they take care of these roads. Some have done some pre-treating, some have not done any treating at all. And, you know, you put salt down, that's not going to work in these
No.
type of temperatures. I know there's been the experimentation for many, many years now with beet juice in several of our counties. When I worked in Kansas
Cool.
City, we used that kind of all the time. And then, you know, you're going to have it blowing around. So that will work to some advantage. It's nice to see that we have a little bit of a distinct breaks between wave number 1 and wave number 2 that will help crews out. What else we got?
Vera asking, they said North Central Kansas and Beloit Sunday morning. They attend a church that's only about 15 miles away. Will road conditions still be bad Sunday morning for
Yes.
those heading out? And she also loves her news, weather, and sports people.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Yes, the roads still on Sunday morning are probably not going to be in good shape because we're not warming above freezing. And we have that secondary wave that's going to be coming through Saturday night into Sunday morning.
Joshua had another question. When we were talking about how much snow we were going to get, he's saying, so it sounds like a very dry snow compared to
Yes.
a wet snow.
Absolutely right. It is going to be a dry, fluffy snow.
Yes. And then Jeffrey asking how much we think Pratt will get. I don't know if you want to pop up the
Yep, I've got it right
snowfall
here.
totals again.
Let me go ahead and pop this up here.
Pratt's kind of in that sweet spot.
Sweet spot.
We went back and forth on Pratt today.
We went back and forth on Pratt today because some models were saying 7 inches of snow, some were saying 8 inches of snow. So I think you're right in that area of probably 8 to 9. You're going to be right there on that edge. And of course, this could change. This is not completely locked in. The storm hasn't arrived yet. We're starting to see the beginning signs of it.
The clouds
this,
coming in.
This could change. You know, we might start to see some more drier air that could come in toward the Kansas City area. So maybe, you know, far northeast Kansas may get shaved back a little bit, but this is what happens in the atmosphere. And you look at these ranges and people always wonder, well, why does it seem to change all the time? Well, the thing is, if you have a rainstorm that comes through, not everybody gets the same amount of rainfall. It always changes. You have different areas of more maximum lift that will be associated. And if you have more maximum lift, what goes up must come down. So that's why there is going to be so much of a change. But Kansas is going to be closer to the part of the storm that is going to be capable of producing some more snow. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us for this Facebook Live and also on our CTV channel. We're going to continue to analyze the data. We get model runs in all the time. And we're going to have another update for you tonight on KSN News 3 at 10 and always online at ksn.com. Know that we're going to be here with you throughout this whole entire storm. We have crews that have all been decked out in different places and working around the clock to make sure that you and your family are safe. Do know that KSN here, Storm Track 3 Weather Team, is here for you. Coming up in just a little bit, we're going to have Jeff and Julia with their after hours. If you have any, chit chat with them, they always love chit chatting with you, and they always are a great group to watch on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights starting at 7:30. So catch us tonight on KSN, coming up tonight at 10.